Yeah, look, it was a funny thing. I didn't even know what peer was.
Yes.
So when I got out of jail, I was really involved with Narcotics Anonymous 12-step, which worked for me.
Yes.
So I found recovery in
Yeah.
prison. Someone lit the spark of hope
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
me. I was that bullshit artist, that long-term
Yeah.
recidivist, that
Yeah.
addict, that offender,
Yeah.
embedded in that world.
Yeah.
Organised crime, gangs, all that stuff. And I was trying to manipulate my way through the system
Yeah.
and get out. And someone slapped me in the face with recovery.
Yeah.
It happened in 5 minutes. Someone spoke to me that I knew and they'd shifted. And I just thought, oh my God, I want what you've got.
Wow.
And it's interesting because this moment, this
Yes.
5-minute moment, guy coming to my cell door at the drug treatment program where I had intended to just bullshit and fly under the radar.
Thank you so much for coming to my show. But also, for people who don't know you, Dave Burnside, if experienced lead from Odyssey.
Yeah,
So would you like to just share with me a little bit about your background?
come from a lived experience of mental health distress, addiction, homelessness, and incarceration. Spent many years in jails. And I've been in active recovery for 17 and a half years now. And I've been at Odyssey for 13 years.
Wow.
Large part of that in peer and consumer roles. So peer support in the drug court when it first started back in 2012. Spent 5.5 years there in a peer support role. Fantastic experience. And I'm still involved today with the drug court. I sit on the steering group, the clinical governance group, and I love all things drug court. I moved into a consumer advisor role, actually a peer manager role. So I helped build our community peer team.
Wow.
And managed that for a while. We were getting a lot of research data back in those days that were telling us we were losing people, high numbers of people in those transition stages in our residential services. Coming out of prison, a lot of our guys come from prison, into this world of therapeutic community is really hard. It's not just about the actual treatment, it's about family stuff and personal stuff. Get bank accounts, ID, and all these things.
That's right.
And we felt that a peer support team could help, and it did. And within 6 to 9 months, we had halved those discharge rates and really found peer support became the glue between the service, the admissions team, and everyone else.
Yes.
Because that's something I will talk about today is that, peer support don't just operate in the service with the people. They've got one foot in the social world. They are the link to the community. That's the world we inhabit, the social world of peer support.
And not to mention the lived experience. I mean, like, people don't understand when someone just suddenly being released.
Yeah.
Like, they have to start from scratch again.
Yep.
Where do you begin?
Yeah, our original team that I built, we all spent lots of time in jail.
Yeah.
So we'd been there.
Yeah.
We knew how it going through. Yeah. So I moved into a consumer advisor role, which at Odyssey is more of a management systems-facing role, gathering feedback from our service users and really looking at the consumer link. So hear the voices. It doesn't matter what they are. In amongst it, there's a lot of what I'd call noise. The porridge is cold, the mushrooms weren't cooked properly on my steak, whatever. But in amongst it, there's some real gems. We put that to our operations team. We look for the quick wins. We also look for those deeper themes that we can start working on. And then we report back and we just keep doing that.
Wow.
And, within a year or two, we were actually hailed by the Health and Disability Commissioner in his annual report as an exemplar of consumer feedback. And today, our consumer advisor, Tom White, has taken that to another level.
Wow.
He's just amazing.
Yeah.
Hear the voices, work with our management team, find service improvement. So we truly are feedback informed.
Wow.
So along the way, I was doing all this study stuff, and I got out of jail in 2011 after about nearly 5 years, and I did some study in there. I did an environmental management diploma. Bored, need to do something. But that gave me an academic record. So when I got out, I was able to enroll good support.
Yeah.
I was able to enroll in a graduate diploma at AUT.
Wow.
And so that led to postgrad certificate, postgrad diploma, and more, which I'll talk about later when I speak about education. But that really enabled me to really dive into education. So I ended up becoming the learning and development lead, which was
My
a
God.
funny thing because it's not
That-
necessarily a lived
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
But and that was really interesting for a couple of years. And then about 3 years ago, we did a bit of a restructure, and I stepped into a more lived experience role as the lived experience lead, which is a
Fantastic.
natural space for me.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's where I sit today. So I sit in the executive team at
Wow.
Odyssey. We're a really good team. I just so much respect for them.
Yeah.
So much knowledge and experience in that group. And we get on really well.
Can I ask you, Dave? I mean, like, because, how do you first get into the peer elements of it?
Yeah, look, it was a funny thing. I didn't even know what peer was.
Yes.
So when I got out of jail, I was really involved with Narcotics Anonymous 12-step, which worked for me.
Yes.
So I found recovery in prison.
Yeah.
Someone lit the spark of hope
Yeah.
in me. I was that bullshit artist, that long-term recidivist, that addict, that offender, embedded in that world. Organised crime, gangs, all that stuff. And I was trying to manipulate my way through the system and get out. And someone slapped me in the face with recovery.
Yeah.
It happened in 5 minutes. Someone spoke to me that I knew and they'd shifted. And I just thought, oh my God, I want what you've got.
Wow.
And it's interesting because this moment, this 5-minute moment, guy coming to my cell door at the drug treatment program where I had intended to just bullshit and fly under the radar, came to the door and spoke to me, and I knew him from I was in jail all my teenage years.
Yes.
Jails, boys' homes, institutions. He was always there, but he was different.
Yeah.
He spoke to me for 5 minutes, and I don't know what he said. Things like, this program's really good. Yeah, it might change your life. It's changed my life.
Wow.
He just looked so well. He had what I kept calling the sense of peace about him. And I just thought, it was like a yearning. I want that. And I shifted in that moment.
Oh.
So this is what my PhD is actually about. What's the power of that moment, of that connection? The power was, it changed my life, changed my trajectory, it shifted me. So at the moment, I'm quite involved with a lot of groups around the world, prison reform, drug law reform, abolitionists. We're always going to have prisons, but a lot of people are advocating for the place of lived experience. In those things, saying who better than those that have been there to be involved at policy level, at higher levels. And they're talking about influencing policy, legislation, structural changes. Fantastic. But you can change the policy. You can change the legislation. You can improve the structure or the environment of prison. You can do all those things. But the individual, if you don't shift the individual, that's what we can do. That's the power. That's our superpower, to shift the individual and get them on board. If you don't, they're just going to, great, this is a better environment, cool, yeah, this is easier, but you haven't really changed their life or enabled them to change their life.
And I like what you say, because you say you've been in the system for so long, you know how to play the game, but not until this person, you see the change in them.
Yeah.
It was like, wow.
Oh, you can see it too.
Yeah.
When you light that spark of hope.
Wow.
See it in the person.
That's powerful.
It sits in that space of intersubjectivity, of mutual connection and subjective experience that you share. So someone who has, say, a mental health lived experience, someone has an addiction lived experience, incarceration lived experience, homeless lived experience. If they don't match up, you're probably not going to like that spark of hope. You're not going to connect. So that's a key part of it. We can't be everything to everyone.
That's right.
But we can be something really powerful to someone that we do have that commonality with. And that guy in the cell door, we spent a lot of time in jail together, in addiction together.
Wow.
And it inspired me. It motivated me. He became a catalyst for change. And I just picked it up and ran with it. So anyway, I got out, fired up in recovery, went to all the 12-step meetings every day, and someone tapped me on the shoulder. And someone I used to be really bad with, who had shifted, and said, "Hey, Dave, there's a peer support job going. You should apply." And I was like, "What's peer support?" He said, "It's what you do, mate, sort of, It's just what you do." It's like, oh, okay. So I did some training, did the PT training at what was Connect, Embakota Waitakitini now. Fantastic. And it just showed me that path. I applied for a job, I didn't get it, but gutted about that. And then I applied for another job, Phoenix Centre, and I sort of got it, but I didn't because I hadn't been out of jail long enough. They tried to make it work, but couldn't. And I nearly gave up on it. And then I got involved in another training, and I got offered 3 jobs. So one was Pathways, one at Punawhakatā, Respite, and one was the drug court. And I took the drug court one, which was a good move, very good move.
Because you feel more aligned with what your lived experience.
Yeah, and so for me, when I say I come from a mental health background, it wasn't the predominant issue for me. You know, we're talking conduct disorder, social anxiety, those sorts of things. And when I was about 15, 16, I was a heroin addict. And I got sentenced to 0 to 2 years, Borstal, Waikeria. And they were like, oh, he's a heroin addict. So I ended up at Oakley Hospital in the secure unit there because, oh, he's using heroin. He must be nuts. He must be crazy. Mental health. Because that's what we did back then. Now, when I went down to Waikeria, they used to send me to Tokanui, a mental health hospital. And people would say, what's he doing here? Oh, he uses heroin. Oh, okay, must be crazy. So we didn't understand back then. So, but really my grounding is in that addiction. I spent quite some years homeless.
Yes.
You know, and around this area. So if a house was abandoned and we were living in it, in the car, in the changing rooms at the beach, the toilets, bushes, we'd rob places, and we were sort of that subculture. I called us we were like ghosts. We didn't really exist. And but no, that incarceration, so all of my teenage years in jails and institutions, and then other shorter legs as I soon learned how to not get caught. But I sit very much in that incarceration space. Now, that's my lived experience of criminal justice and addiction.
Honestly, I feel so honored that you trusted me to share your story. And to me, I always feel such a privilege because I also want to acknowledge, despite you sitting here sharing it, none of it has been easy journey either. Because all this, you constantly have to pick yourself out one step at a time. And even sitting here right now, like looking through everything, you might have seen what works, what hasn't worked. Even now, has the system changed? Has the system gotten better?
Yeah, well, all of our stories come from that pain and suffering. And it's not just people in mental health and addiction. Most people on the street have a story of suffering, pain, challenge, and redemption and resilience. But the system, yes and no, so I have to say that I'm not really happy, with where we're going with peer support. That, we recognise for the wisdom, the knowledge, that lived experience we have, but in a sort of tokenistic way.
Yes.
And finding that, I think we're sort of, like the term that we're becoming colonised by the system. Because the system's really powerful. I mean, my mate Marty's always saying, what is the system? The system, government, entrenched, the corporations and elites that sit behind it, the power, those systems of power. So they want us to be what they want. So I'm seeing peer support models that aren't peer. I'm seeing peer trainings that aren't peer. I'm seeing all this narrative and training and education and demand for us to fit the system. That's not how it's meant to be. Our whakapapa, our heritage, comes from community empowerment and change. And we are disruptors. And we're meant to actually change the system. Absolutely. So the training should be for the other guys to learn how to change to allow us to be part of it.
Yes.
But that's not happening.
No.
And I'm not surprised because that's how systems work. If I'm doing this PhD, I'm just so full of theory and philosophy at the moment. I'm reading all this stuff. My supervisor gave me a book on the theory and philosophy of applied research, like the theory of everything. Fantastic, I love it.
Yeah.
But people like Foucault talked about systems in terms of we become the system that we grow up in. Because how would we know any different?
I agree.
And it's only as we get older that we realise, hang on, is this right? Why is this? Why do we do this? And why does this happen? We start to question that. And Weber will talk about social action theory, that change only comes from people. We change the system. The system doesn't love us. It doesn't care about us. There's people in there that do it. But as a thing of itself, it's not going to change and go suddenly, oh my God, Yes, we need to do all these things. Yes, you're right. Sorry, we got it wrong.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
No.
We have to change it. We can only do that by using our voice
And
having the courage to
yeah.
actually use our voice.
And go back to what you say, like, because quite often the system that we talk about has been driven by Western medical,
Western colonial academic knowledge. Where does that shit come from? Somewhere else, England, Europe, whatever, from philosophy and theory, embedded here, forced on us, doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fit anymore. Yeah, and when you look at those concepts of coloniality, where it's a bit like that Foucault theory, coloniality, that we believe that stuff. And that's what we believe and we buy into it. And colonial difference, where the dominant paradigm enforces a narrative on us, on a non-dominant paradigm, that isn't true. And says, this is who you are and this is what you do. And I'm going, no. Self and others are slowly saying, no, stop. It's not who we are. It's not what we do. So there's another concept called marking, where systems don't want to be talked about as themselves. They want to hide, because if you dig too deep, if you scratch below the surface, you're like, this is not right. So they want the narrative to be about the victim, about the marginalised population. For us in New Zealand, that's Māori, that's Pacifica, that's Asian, that's disabled, that's rainbow, that's the criminals, the
people
gangs.
on benefit.
Get them in the news, talk about them, focus on them.
Yes.
Don't look at the system that created it as the bad guys.
And that's what you experience. Well, you say, like you've been through the system. It didn't work until you have this friend that you saw the changes in him.
Yeah.
That speak the volumes. But if the system have worked, it wouldn't have been repeatedly creating the same.
It's a bit like I was talking about with the changes, if we adopt lived experience into policy and legislation and structural changes, you've still got to shift the individual. That's where peer support come in. That guy in the cell door, he was peer support. That's what was happening there. And if you don't shift the person, nothing will change for them.
And so
it's about identity.
It is
challenging a new sense of identity, reimagining a new sense of self. This is powerful language that I teach into universities now, social models of recovery, reimagining a new sense of self.
Creating hope.
There is an option. There is an option.
And
hope. The Chine model. I live and breathe the Chine model. Connectedness, hope, identity, meaning, and empowerment. Our job is just to connect. Once we've connected and lit that spark of hope, we can step away. And it's good if we can stay there, but we don't actually have to be there, because people will naturally think about, who am I really? Who am I really? And I remember going through that stage, and I was in prison, and someone lit that spark of hope. They connected with me, and I found hope. And I had to actually look in the mirror. And I remember watching Murray Decker on TV, an old, very famous sports journalist, lovely guy. And he wasn't coming out as an alcoholic, but he was just saying, look, yeah, I'm an alcoholic. And he was challenging people on TV. I was sitting in prison, and he was saying, you need to go and have a look in the mirror. Who are you? Look in your eyes. When's the last time you looked in your eyes? I was thinking, I never look in my eyes. I don't want it. I don't want to see what's there. The bullshit artist, the addict, the lack of hope, the hopelessness. So I didn't have a mirror, because in jail you don't get a mirror, you get a piece of polished stainless steel, which is often quite scratched and bent. So I was in a minimum unit that had a window with bars over it. But it was night time. I was looking in the window. I was looking into my eyes. And I was really looking and thinking, I don't do this. Who are you?
Wow.
And just at that moment, the prison officer comes past her and checks, and he's like, you right, Dave? Yeah, I'm looking at my eyes.
Yeah.
He's probably like, drug test. But having to have a brutal, uncompromising look at self, identity, and then finding meaning and purpose. This is the powerful stage of reimagining.
Wow.
Who do I want to be? What is this life I want? And realizing that I can have it.
Wow.
And the steps to go towards that. Empowerment, self-empowerment.
My God, I mean, like in that short 13 years, you have achieved enormously. I mean, and even the work that you're doing now, would you like to talk a little bit about some of the work that you've been.
Yeah. Sure. So at the moment, I sit in the executive at Odyssey.
Yeah.
And so I'm involved in business and strategic planning and all those operational issues that sometimes need or generally need a lived experience input. And I bring that different voice. And I think in terms of governance, we have a really good group in our executive that bring those different perspectives. But largely my role is I'm a lived experience educator. So my key focus is on our Peer Support 101 training, which we've delivered to over 600 people around the country, from Marae in the far north, Moana House in Otago, and pretty much everywhere in between.
Wow.
I was in Rotorua last week. I was at Hamilton a couple of weeks before. We do Christchurch, Auckland several times a year, and just where required. And I love it. Introductory peer support. And the thing about this training, Ivan, is that it's got multiple impact. We're not just training people how to be peer support. So we give them the foundational training that they need to step into a role, and hopefully they can, certificated NZQA, they can get a job, get support from their employer, level 4, and move on. It's actually training people to be not just champions of recovery, champions of change and well-being in their community. So remember I talked about how we inhabit that social world?
Yes.
So at the moment, we've got some big challenges in our communities. You know, we've got the wastewater results saying that there are 97% increase in methamphetamine. You know, this massive influx. We read in the news every day, 100 kilos, 50 kilos, 20 kilos. That's what's found. It's bigger than 97%. The wastewater doesn't capture the septic tanks.
That's right.
It doesn't capture, like I was a mess cook in this area. I didn't tip my stuff down the drain so it could be measured, because you know you can get caught if you do that. They can get residue out of your system, so you tip it outside. So it potentially double that.
Wow.
And what we're seeing is it's just massive. We're seeing this rise of availability of methamphetamine. We're seeing increased serious violence. We're seeing increased presentation of mental health issues at EDs. And what are we doing about it? We're talking about it. And I just don't think that's good enough.
I agree.
You know, so I want to create champions of change. So when someone understands, we get them fired up in a peer support training or a stigma and discrimination training. We get them fired up. They go back to their family, to their community, to their home, their friends, and they have an impact. Those are champions of change. And that's what we need to do. And that doesn't cost a lot of money. So, but we're not doing it. What we're doing is we're getting little groups together and we're talking about things and making reports. That's not going to change anything. So I have serious concerns about it.
Yeah.
I've got my latest tagline, Ivan. I'll share this one with you. So I brought out the quiet revolution. A few people have picked up on this.
Yeah.
You know, that we heard from senior government officials about acknowledging lived experience and saying, we're calling them the quiet revolution. Don't like it. I'm not quiet. I've got something to say. I feel like you're patting me on the head. You know, like the quiet. We've been around a while, man.
Long time.
So don't pat me on the head and stick me in the corner anymore and tick a box. Yes, lived experience was there, right?
Probably.
Yeah. I want to have my voice.
Yes.
I want to have my say.
Yeah.
I don't want to burn the system down. I just want an equal voice at the table for lived experience, for Māori, Pacifica, Rainbow, disabled, all those marginalised voices. The elderly, the young need to have a voice. So, I'm not quiet, and I'm not going to stay quiet. I'm lucky because I'm getting old. But my latest tagline is the false bottom. So we have this, my mate calls it the upstream, downstream system of government, otherwise known as top-down, bottom-up.
Yeah.
So the top government structures, systems comes down with resources, funding, information. It meets the bottom. It lifts the bottom up. It devolves power. It gives funding. It gives information. It supports. It lifts the bottom up so the top doesn't have to go down so far, and you get community empowerment. It sounds lovely, but they're not going to the bottom. They're going to the false bottom. They're going to the lower middle, which is where they hear what they want to hear. If they go down to the bottom, you'd be talking to lived experience networks, kaupapa Māori organisations, community organisations, to the real people, the thousands, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions, who actually aren't happy and are going to say things that the top doesn't want to hear. So they only come down so far. And that's why we see no change. If you come down to the bottom, I hate the top bottom, so whatever.
Yeah.
The power there. But that's the reality.
It is.
It is the reality.
Yes.
If you talk to the bottom and involve them and give them power and listen to their voices, you will see change. And we need change. So the false bottom, I've been pushing that, and a lot of people go, oh.
Yeah.
So we have in that false bottom. Yeah. So the government employ lived experience leads. Fantastic. I love to see that. There's a lot of good stuff happening in peer support. But they can't really say what they really think. And what their role is to actually engage with the bottom and bring those voices. I'm not hearing it, Ivan.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing those critiques that I hear because we're very connected into those communities. And I'm not hearing their voices. I'm not seeing the change. I'm not happy.
I want to pick up from what you've been doing with the community work, especially the education bit, because I really like that concept. You're saying the real change is empowering people who have lived experience. They become the champion. Talk to their friend, talk to their family, talk to the community, which is what you've been talking about, is that, like through the voices where people being empowered to do the work and share their insight, take that ownership, and then really bring that change and have the ripple impact, not just sitting on that middle where it's just, like what you say.
It's not a structural thing or a systems thing or a program or service thing. It's a community thing.
Absolutely.
It's a people thing. People inspiring people, supporting each other, spreading hope.
Yeah.
And that brings change.
And also identify people probably they knew having the same problem earlier.
Yep. And inspiring that.
Yeah.
They need to be that guy in the cell door.
Yeah.
They need to be in their communities that people looking at them and thinking, oh my God, I don't know what you've got, but I want it.
Yeah.
Okay, come and sit down. Let's have a talk about it.
But then again, you say what you're experiencing, also seeing, yes, there's a lot more peer support role, but the system itself has not been able to make them have that voice.
No, look, I do a lot of supervision around the country with peers. I engage in lived experience symposiums and networks. That's the world I live in. And everywhere I go, I hear they don't know who I am. They don't know what I do.
Hey.
Everywhere. And when the boss comes in the room, that's not what they'll say. They'll go, oh, no, unicorns and rainbows. Oh, everything's fine. As soon as the boss is gone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
That power. And it's not intended.
No.
It's not intended.
Yeah. But what we talked about as well earlier about even as someone who has lived experience when you're in a job, you're not just a clinician or you can sit behind a bazaar. You have to bring your whole self in.
Yeah, and that takes some real strength, Ivan.
Yeah.
I think you've experienced that.
Yes.
Our power is our story and the way we engage it, the way we share it. And it takes courage. It can be re-traumatizing for us. Yeah, it can be difficult when to share that story, how much of it, how to deal with the issues that come out of that. It's a real skill set. It's not just a story that you go, I'll tell the story, flip the switch, turn it on, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot more to it than that.
Still
connecting, finding that commonality, picking the moment, when to stay silent, when to step back. There's a whole lot going in that space that isn't understood or recognised. And when you get it right, it works really well. And there are some pockets of that happening around the country. And when I look at what they do up north, they just do it naturally. And it works. So we don't want people to change who they are. Don't lose you. I'm always saying, don't lose you, but understand. So this is what the PhD is about. It's actually breaking that down. What is this? We all know it's really good, but what is it? Pull that apart. So like in terms of education, I talked about the Peer Support 101. I got a bit sidetracked, but so we also run role clarity trainings. So I've run those all over the country. I did one in Hamilton. I'm doing one in Rotorua.
Clarity for peer support.
About 2 weeks. Yeah, peer support clarity for non-peers, for managers, for clinicians, for employers, for admin staff.
Amazing.
What is that role and how do you work together? What are the conflicts and the tensions? So I did that in Christchurch about 2 weeks ago with Needle Exchange and Housing First. Great little group. I've done it in Australia a couple of years back. I'm going back there soon to pick up on that again. So I went there and talked about role clarity. So 50 staff from Directions Health and
Amazing.
2 workshops. What is peer? Okay?
Amazing.
You've got the odd one, but you're about to get a whole lot more. What are the issues? Who are they? Where do they come from? What do they do? What are the tensions? What are the solutions? How do you prepare? It's a bit like preparing a garden. You don't just plant a garden, stick a seed in the ground. You've got to dig it over, fertilize it, think about where the sun's coming from, how to water it, or the bigger picture.
Wow.
Create the environment. Plant the seed, e kākano, te puawai, and watch it flourish. But if you don't, that seed will still grow, but it'll be a little bit sick and it won't get very big. It won't reach its potential.
Yes.
And I often talk about peer support. I like rongoa. So, rongoa, Māori traditional healing plants. They're not big trees. Kawakawa, koromiko, kumara they're all quite small trees, but they create that nurturing environment for the seed to grow. They're not the big trees. The big trees are the services, the government, the judges, all the other bigger players. So I'm part of that forest ecosystem. We are that healing, nurturing environment that allow growth and change.
And honestly, I understand where you're coming from, because even when I first started as a peer support worker, way before Mind and Body, it was the same issue. People don't know how to utilize the services. They have no idea.
And they pretend they do. It's like, oh, yeah, you guys, you walk alongside and you've got lived experience. Cool. Where we go? Oh, hang on. So that lack of preparation of the environment, that lack of role clarity, of understanding of specifically doing that, that's led to a lot of confusion and to the detriment of the people we work for. So we also do stigma and discrimination training. Fantastic training, very, very passionate about stigma and discrimination. For years I've been hearing people talk about people are being stigmatized and discriminated. I'm like, yeah. And they don't have an end. No, so we come up with an end. We teach people about just the value, the people who are being stigmatized and discriminated. We teach them the power of affirmation, power of assertive language, the power of radical acceptance. We give them tools to deal with that, to deal with what is often the biggest form of stigma is self-stigma. The limitations I put on myself. I'm bought into what I was told. You're bad, you're not good enough, you don't belong. Yeah, that's me. I've got to rip that stuff away and step out of that. It takes courage. So we do peer group facilitation training because we deliver groups differently. We need to deliver groups differently. It's very important. So that's at that sort of elementary level. And outside of that, I've been teaching into the postgrad addictions papers at AUT and Auckland University at Auckland for about 5 years, at AUT for about 7 years now, teaching things like social justice, recovery principles, recovery concepts. At Auckland University, I go in there and teach problem formulation. When they first hit me up, I was like, are you kidding? Problem formulation? I have a problem with the language of problem. I've got a problem and you want to formulate me? Get fucked. And they said, that's what I want. So I go and I critique and I take a lot of Professor David Best's stuff in there. Social models of recovery, particularly social identity mapping, is a way of assessment or looking at the whole person. It's a powerful way that sits in that process of time and it looks at who are you? Who are the things that make up your life? Who are the people in your life? What's missing? And how do you reimagine a new social identity? Powerful language. That's when people get excited and that's where the empowerment comes from.
Amazing.
So I get to do that. I get to do RECAP assessment, asset-based community engagement, development and engagement, and take that into universities.
Wow.
Now I go into the law school.
Law school as well?
Yeah, so
amazing.
I'm a law lecturer. It's funny. I mean, I graduated with a master's degree in law 2 years ago. So I'm not a lawyer.
Congratulations.
But I know the fucking law.
Oh my God, amazing.
I know it from a different side, from the being there side.
Yeah.
It's got value. So I go in there. The last class I did was around, what do you call it, de-escalation. For lawyers. I go in there and I go, so you guys are all going to be lawyers? You know, you guys are shit. And I'll tell you why. It's my experience with lawyers. It wasn't good. So don't be that guy. And I tell the story of the addict in the hole. I talk about engagement and connection. I talk about chime. Tell them, get in the hole with your client. Get with them. Understand them. Look at their perspective.
Wow.
And listen to them. It's really powerful task. We really love it. So all that stuff I do in universities is different.
My God, that's
I get to take it. It's not
really amazing.
They love it because it's a breath of fresh air. It's not that clinical stuff, all the big words and language and theory and stuff.
Yeah.
It's different.
And you shift their perspective.
Yeah.
Really shift
just
the
want
way.
to light that spark of hope in them.
Wow.
To actually look at things differently.
Wow.
Look at the person. To empower the people. That education space. So that's largely I'm training. With the law stuff I only do a little bit of, but a lot of them are clinicians and practitioners at AUT and Auckland University. They're going out there into services. A lot of them already work there.
I can see why you're so on hot demand now.
And I want to challenge their perspective. So another educational initiative I'm involved in is we just launched the Global Freedom Scholars, Aotearoa. Global Freedom Scholars is an international movement that supports higher education for incarcerated and previously incarcerated people. 18 chapters. We are now the 18th chapter. I lead it in New Zealand, and we had a launch about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And it's part of the Incarceration Nations Network, which is another huge movement. Yeah. And that looks at prison reform, prison abolition, and advocates so strongly. They're amazing organisations. But Global Freedom Scholars is something I relate to. So I got thrown out of school when I was about 15. I was a heroin addict. I've been using heroin since I was about 13, so I can't believe it took that long. But it was when I finally got my first conviction. I just turned 15, and I got a conviction for a relatively minor cannabis offence. But we're talking 50 years ago. And 50 years ago, that was a big deal. Drug dealer. Oh, my God. Cannabis. And so I got thrown out of school and spent the rest of my teenage years in jails and institutions. But I left that school with nothing. I hadn't been listening. I had no qualification. I hadn't passed anything. I was lucky if I was even there towards the end. I was just totally disruptive. And yet, 50 years later, I'm doing a PhD. Obviously, I had the ability. Yes. I didn't have the opportunity. Yes. And our prisons are full of people with ability who haven't had opportunity.
That's not been laboured.
Those are the key words. Yeah. So now we're trying to support that ability by giving opportunities. So we provide mentors. I have a list of mentors, people like myself and other academic leaders. Got a couple of doctors, professor, who support people doing lived experience education.
So sign me out.
Yeah, the other class we teach at AUT is the graduate diploma, level 7 graduate diploma. So I did it 10 years ago. And it was just an academic qualification because that's all it was. You could be peer support. If you wanted to progress, you had to do the clinical thing. I thought that's what I had to do. And we fought for this for years. We've had a lived experience advisory group at AUT for about 8, 9 years now. About over a year ago, we finally launched what is the first in the world. It actually starts with a level 5 paper. So you can come into the graduate certificate, graduate diploma program at AUT and do a paper called Foundations of Peer Support.
Wow.
The next one is the level 7 paper, which we just finished last week. This year's class, Enhanced Peer Support, level 7. You can go on and do Recognising the Recovery Potential of Working with Communities. You can do papers and you can access the whole curriculum. But the key thing is that you don't need a degree. Normally you need something like that to get in.
Right.
We'll take people who have level 4 and lived experience. No one else in the world does it. So now we have this class of people that don't have to be a clinician, so they can take the pathways into lived experience, into research, academia, leadership roles, supervision, and actually start to spread the word and to actually bring our voice. So with the PhD, when I look at the literature, there's huge gaps. There's no real no real research conducted by lived experience. There's lots of research on lived experience by non-lived experience people, but there's no funding. There's huge gaps in it, and that's what I want to challenge. That's why I'm doing a PhD.
I want to circle back to what made you decide to do PhD.
Sort of a natural progression. I started with the graduate diploma, or even with the environmental diploma in jail. I wasn't looking at a pathway. There was no plan. When you finish, you're always like, oh, I'm glad I finished, that's it. But then you're like, okay. And I was very lucky. I've had some great mentors. Supervisor for my master's, Katie Tom's been huge for me in facilitating pathways and motivating and supporting my new supervisor, Peter Adams at Auckland University. And we really click. And part of it is an obligation. I just feel if I don't, who will? Again, if I challenge people to use their voice.
Yes.
I have to do the same. I have to be the one that says, hang on, I'm not happy. And this is why. And this is what I want. So do the work. So, yeah, it's a bit of a daunting journey, but I'm really enjoying it, really looking forward to it. It's quite good being the age that I'm at. I'm 65.
You look young.
Thank you, Ivan. Yep, that's what you're supposed to say. I'm at an age where I'm reasonably secure. My employer is fantastic. I can't talk enough about Odyssey and the work that they do. They're a people organisation. They care about people, and I love it. I had a lot of people try and poach me away. There's no way you need wild horses to drag me away from Odyssey.
Wow.
So, but I'm in a position where I can scale back to 2 or 3 days a week, and I have options. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll just slowly step back a bit and engage more and more in the academic PhD study. The key part of that work is to create a resource that informs what is peer support, what is lived experience, and most importantly, what is the nature of that intersubjective connection that we have, and really break that down for non-peers, but also for peer support. But as well as that, I want to support those emerging leaders. So I'm going to create an advisory group at Auckland University. I want to identify, so those people like you and I were 10 years ago or 20 years ago, that are showing that passion. I want to say, hey, come and get involved. Let's use our voice collectively.
Awesome. Wow.
And that they exist. There's plenty of them there.
Yes.
If we can bring a few of those guys together, and along the way I'll sort of be quietly manipulating, kind of nudge them into further academic study. But if that's what they want to do, I want them to come together to use their voice.
Yes.
To actually bring that change.
Wow.
Create a movement. So we've been talking about a lived experience national body. Everyone's waiting for Te Pou or the government or someone. Someone's got to do it. No one's going to do it.
No, not that.
So some of us, Kev, we've been saying, let's just do it.
Yeah.
That way, they can't tell us anything.
I
it's
agree.
Like, hey, go away. Yeah. We'll do it.
100%.
Independent. We say what we say. Who we are. And you have nothing to do with it.
100% support that. Yeah, not being watered down. There's no, like diluted because the company policy, nothing as such. I with you. I just want to say, so with the PhD study that you are currently working on, so do you have a topic, or you have
at the moment it's formulating along the lines of an exploration of how does lived experience inspire, motivate a recovery and assistance journey.
Wow.
How does that happen? What's going on there?
Yeah.
Really a deep dive into that. And we know on the surface, they've been there, they inspire people. There's a lot more to it than a whole lot of factors at play. But it's also a little bit of a critical discourse sort of approach to the wider system. So it brings in a whole lot. That role of intersubjectivity, that role of marginalisation. So I'm using chime. David Best is my hero. And when I talked to him about it, he said, use chime to frame it. So I'm doing that. And do an introduction, which will look at the background, methodology, literature review, but then it's got connection, the empowerment. So I'm going to use autoethnography. So my story, and I got some stories of it.
Oh, yeah.
As I'm old,
absolutely.
I got lots of stories.
Yeah.
But I'll also do interviews with other people who had a similar experience, who were inspired, who had an aha moment. And that was the catalyst for their change. But that connection space will actually start with disconnection. So what was it that disconnected me? And what was it that, the trauma that led to drug use, the neglect, the labelling, being charged. When I got charged with that cannabis offence, they didn't need to charge me. I look back now and go, what a joke. But it defined my life. It set me on a trajectory. And some people would say, well, you broke the law. There was consequences for the law. What would I say to them?
Everybody break the laws.
I'd say, how dare you take away my ability to be part of my family, my community, to give back? How dare you?
Yeah.
And, and we're doing that today.
Wow.
We are doing that today. I think there are 153,000 people in the world currently in prison for possession. So we have this discretion here for charging. We're still locking people up. I know there are other complex issues there, and it's actually really complex. I don't have a magic wand. I actually do. I give them away all the time, but I've got none on me today, because that's what we need. We need a magic wand. It's very complex.
Yes.
When we look at the position that police are in, the government direction, the elites and corporations that manipulate in the background to bring about the policy and legislation that we have. So I sit on the board of corrections, one of the boards of corrections, the Pathways and Services Portfolio Board, which is, when I went in there, so I go to Wellington once a month and sit with all the deputy chief executives. When I went there, I expected, been there about 18 months now, I expected sort of almost a bit of indifference or arrogance, and I was prepared for that. What I found was passion, ability. They're an amazing group of people working really hard to navigate this incredibly complex organisation and process of justice and corrections and incarceration. And there's a lot of change coming, and it's needed. If I had my way, we'd do it all today and it'd be done by tomorrow, but that's not going to happen.
I hear you, because I don't believe in locking people in a jail will actually empower them anything. If not, damage them even further.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
No, that was my experience. So when you're in there, you just feel you don't have a voice. And the longer you're there, I spent about 8.5 years in jails. And you just get lost in that system. You become that system. It gets embedded. That antisocial way of thinking gets embedded. We rationalise it. We become it. That's what the shift needs to be. So that shift for me, going from criminal, addict, antisocial, pro-social, non-offender, in recovery, it's a massive journey. And it happened just like that because of peer support.
Can I share with you? I never actually said I want to take this opportunity to make my positions clear. I never agree on prison's jail time. First, all that money spending on a person could have better use for anything to support the individual. Second, people think this person had done some form of things against the law. It should be punished, but I don't think punishments will work for anyone who already struggle. In the end of the day, no one wants to become a deviant of society. There is a reason for it. And so no one chooses it. I agree.
Yeah.
And also, and I don't like to see someone being stripped away for freedom and thinking by putting them away that will fix that person. It never does. If presence work, it wouldn't have increasing population instead of decreasing the population of present. So all that money, people think, they never thought about the money had to spend on building prison, like running prisons, and then they talk about crime.
It's actually more than that now. A year per person. A lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
And yet we have a government, I'm not going to get political, we have a government that is talking about tough on crime, longer sentences. But behind that, we have a population who voted for it. So there's a lot of work to do to challenge that public perception.
I agree.
And that's where that, that sort of lobbying and that shadow power behind that. And what do we say to get the vote? We say this, we got the vote. So it's really complex. When we come down, so there's that bigger picture of challenging public perception and becoming more caring and compassionate about each other. And then you come right back down to that micro peer support role and what peer support can do in their home, their family and their community to be champions of well-being. So again, I'll come back to, I'm not happy. I think we've become colonised and sidetracked by our system.
Agree.
Which is deviating us from who we are meant to be.
Because
the disruptor, the emancipator, the empowerer of change and well-being. So back in about 22, I think we had the IIHML, International Institute of Mental Health Leadership.
Yes.
Now known as the GLE, Global Leadership Exchange. And they meet every 2 years. They have a big meeting. Usually there be 2 in the world. The next one's in Vancouver.
Cool.
The last one was in Amsterdam, and the one before was in Christchurch. So I was at the Christchurch one. And there was a lived experience group. few people, probably 20, 30 of us. Few have been talking beforehand, and we've been sharing that same view. We're not happy. We're feeling colonised. We're feeling dominated, and we're sick of it. We're going to use our voice. So I came up with this tagline: peer support. We are revolting. And we thought, that's funny. That's really good. And we shared it with the main group, and everyone was like, yeah, we are revolting. So anyway, I can share with you today. I now wear my patch.
Awesome.
So I realised a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I love it.
That I could just go online and go, T-shirt. What colour? What font do you want? Oh, that one. Oh, that one.
Yeah.
That one. So that's not intended to mean it. It's just but we are peer support and we are revolting.
Awesome.
And so come and join my gang.
Yeah.
Got a few allies, some very powerful allies in that space.
Yeah.
People who've been around a long time who feel the same as I do.
And that's what I love about what you share, like Dave, because your story is so powerful. I mean, like, you're talking about your journey from the age of, like 13, 15, and then that 40 years, nothing in the system have give you a hope. And if not, only create more issue, barriers, and stigma. And that's just one person.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah, and I often share, Ivan, my story is just a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
Compared to the stories of thousands, hundreds of thousands of others here in New Zealand, millions around the world.
Dave,
some people's experience just eclipses anything. They leave me in the dust for the horrors, the pain, and the transformation that they've encountered, and the inspiration that they share today.
And even after you met that person, in 13 years, how much you have achieved? I mean,
I've been very lucky, I think. Advocacy, the drug court, they've been really powerful platforms. A lot of people in the sector, some of our what we call old timers, not just in the 12-step world, but just in the addiction sector, just such powerful allies and supporters that have supported me. And there's lots like me.
Yeah.
There are lots of people like me around.
But like what you say, like just that one person set your trajectory into something. And if the system willing to change and take that from the beginning, that would have been such a different story as well.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about, changing the system, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose I want to be that person that others have been for me.
Yeah.
I want to support those younger voices, those emerging leaders through that PhD study and that academic involvement. I think that can become a platform for others and to bring them in, give them a voice and allow them to experience that. So I'm involved in all this international stuff at the moment, the Global Leadership Exchange, Global Freedom Scholars, International Incarceration Nations Network,
United Nations.
Justice Reform. Oh, sorry, the World Health Organization.
Yes.
So I was going to finish on that one. All the stuff we've been talking about really sits in that mental health and addiction, incarceration sort of space. Damaged, marginalised groups. So about 18 months ago, I did a little thing online around stigma and discrimination. It was a World Health Organization thing. And they said, tell us your experience. I went, blah, 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 blah. And they came back and said, would you do a film for us? So I was like, okay, yeah. We had a lot of back and forth. Next thing you know, I've got a film crew at my house down the road.
Yes.
And at my work.
Yeah.
And at the local shopping centre where I grew up.
Yeah. I watched
walking down the street, going, I lived under that building and I robbed that place, and and talking about being a ghost.
Yeah.
And talking about stigma and discrimination, talking about my journey, but in a wider sense of social connection. Because disconnection, isolation and loneliness kill people. They exclude and marginalise people. And they aren't just people like me who had mental health, addiction, incarceration or criminal justice involvement. They're people, they're disabled people, they're old people, they're young people. People are lonely. People are unhealthy. Loneliness killed 850,000 people last year. That's just what's known. I think it's a lot more than that. But it's much bigger than just that. This is a people thing.
Yes.
It's not a bad people thing, sick people thing. It's much bigger than that. So, the World Health Organization Commission on Social Connection is a fascinating group that has actually shifted in a policy sense and defined social health as a pillar of health alongside mental, physical and social. And that's a big shift. So early days for that, we'll start to see that come down through into policy. There are only 8 countries in the world that actually have policy on social connection.
Okay.
largely European and Scandinavian,
Yep.
but the US and Japan as well. Nothing here. I sort of made a bit of a push and mentioned it to a few people. Haven't got any bites, but, well, that's coming. That's coming because that's the bigger picture. It's about people.
It is. And also, as you mentioned, like how, because the system became so big, any issue problems that became the systems who manage the people, not actually looking at a human being as a human being. And that is what you're talking about is, like how do we disrupt? Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. That's what our system does. It looks at numbers, it looks at policy, it looks at words. Let's look at people and involve people.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily fit the agenda of those in power, whether it be the government or the corporation or the elites, the power or organisations. So, but I think by using our voice and naming it, that's how we bring that change.
Dave, I mean, like your story is one that is going to inspire so many people. And I have my own lived experience. Even just hearing yours, I couldn't even think how, like you shift that change, because change is not as easy as what people thought. Yeah.
That's right. And change isn't radical change. It's not burning down the building.
No.
It's just actually having a voice, an equal voice at the table.
Yeah.
And recognising the value that sits in our existing systems.
Yeah.
But having the power.
Yeah.
To actually be part of bringing our stuff to it. And when we work together, right, we get better outcomes. No one can argue with that.
Absolutely. So, just before we finishing, if someone who are losing hope and also thinking about, should I do next? How would you give? I don't want to use the advice. Like, what would you think would be something that
we don't advise? We don't tell people to do it.
Exactly.
Directive.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to do is say my advice is that's not possible. No, but for me, what worked for me is connection. It might just be walking out to my letterbox. I had a guy recently who had a mental health breakdown, and he said, "I can't get off the couch." I said, "Okay, I want you to just open the door and walk to the letterbox." How far is it? He said, 10 meters. Cool. Go on, put your phone down. And did you do it? Yeah, I did it. Awesome. So do it again later, and then do it twice. But then you have to get out. You have to connect. You have to listen to people, meet diverse people, groups, activities. They affect how we make decisions, how we feel. They influence our mental health, our well-being. So connection, connectedness, what it's all about.
Even connecting to people like yourself.
Yeah. Go online even. Listen to something. These days, the AI chatbot.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, "Oh, that's ridiculous. You can't." Apparently, I was in a meeting up in another group called ICARE, the International Committee for Addiction Research Excellence, and I was talking with Dot Smith from Recovery Connections in the UK, lived experience organisation. She's amazed at the numbers of people they've got using AI chatbots because it's safe.
Yeah, it is.
I've someone engaged as the starting point.
It is.
And from that come engagement with a real person, a group, an activity.
Yeah.
So quite fascinating. And AI, boy, it's taken over our lives. But yeah.
I talk to ChatGPT very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to share my thoughts because, like...
Yeah, that's quite interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what I would want people to do, is to get outside themselves in any way they can and not just keep going further inward and closing off and isolating.
And I would say before I finish, like you are that authentic leadership through and through, inside out. I mean, because you not just walk the talk, but you also exemplify your experience and share it with the world. And that is the biggest gift anyone can do and really bring the change. And I can't even imagine the amount of work that you involve. Oh my God, even when I hear it, it's like, that's lots.
Yeah, I know. I really want to be, it's how do I give back? It's all about redemption, and having those values of hope and faith and gratitude and redemption and that whole giving back, being passionate, enthusiasm. But internationally, so when I travel, I have to jump through some hoops to get into Australia, but they let me in. Oh, good. I'm hoping to do the Puzzle Reintegration Conference, which is a justice-focused forum, largely dominated by lived experience. And in April, I'm off to South Africa, Cape Town, for the Global Freedom Scholars Group.
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah, so it's been part of that bigger picture, which is
Yes.
easy to do online, but it's great to go there and do it face to
Absolutely.
face.
Absolutely. Have you been to Cape Town before?
No.
Awesome.
I didn't know. Apparently all the chapter leaders get to go. I didn't know that came with it, but now I'm told that, yep, you'll be coming to Cape Town
Congratulations.
in April, and I'm really looking forward to that. Meeting others like myself. We talk online, the other chapter leaders who are really passionate about supporting higher education for incarcerated people.
I just thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Ivan.
That was amazing. Any last word you want to share or anything, or we cover most of it?
I suppose I always finish on, that above all else, there should be nothing about us without us in any sense.
Right.
And it's very hard to argue.